What's going on, good people? This is Nate Lewis, the common man with the common take on the movie The Martian. Kind of a different show we're doing today, and I'm joined by a very special guest. Probably the most special guest I'll ever have, because that will be my wife, Stephanie. Stephanie, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Well, the reason we're doing this review is we just saw The Martian the other night. I love the movie. How'd you think about it?
I loved it. One of my favorite movies of the year.
All right, so we just figured we'd get on and look. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a spoiler alert, but seriously, this movie's been out for quite a while. So if you haven't seen it by now, I don't think you were planning on seeing it anytime soon. So sorry, we're gonna be talking about spoilers here. But The Martian that we watched, it is the movie starring Ben Affleck, and it is.
No, it's Matt Damon.
Did I do that?
Yes, you did.
Man, sometimes I get those guys confused. They've been doing stuff together for so long. Maybe because I'm just thinking about the Batman movie that's coming out soon, which we are going to go see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, starring Matt Damon, it's about a crew.
Been a
flick. It's about a crew that, it's actually set in the future. It's based off a novel that was published in 2011. The movie takes place in the year 2035 about the Ares 3 crew. They're on a mission on Mars, and there is a dust storm that is heading towards their equipment. So they make the decision to try to go fix what was it, like a tower or something like that was tipping over.
Something I don't remember.
Something like that. So the crew goes to attempt to fix that and realize that they can't get it done. So they're gonna go ahead and launch off of Mars. During this time, Matt Damon's character, whose name is Mark Watney.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Watney. Gets injured as something falls off of the device they're trying to fix, and there is a error basically in his suit, so his crew is not able to pick up that there is any life coming from his suit. So they take off. As they're heading back, Mark magically wakes up. He gets a little error message on his suit telling him he's running low on oxygen. He's able to get back to one of their habs, where he realizes everybody's taken off without him. And the story kind of proceeds from there. So, when we first saw the trailer of this movie, what were you thinking just by watching the trailer of how this movie would go?
That I have to go watch it as soon as it comes out.
Is it just because you have a slight Matt Damon crush?
No, it looks like a really good movie.
I remember seeing the trailer for the first time. I thought it'd probably be interesting, but
Actually, I sent you the trailer because I was at the movies.
Is that how that went?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I sent you trailers too, so for the most part, I'm the one that's always sending you trailers. So, but yeah, we didn't go see this in theaters. I think we were trying to go for a while, and schedules never matched up. But so anyway, my first impression was, this is like a big time, like kind of epic type movie. But as excited as I was to see it, I wasn't really to go out of my way to see it. Kind of like if we were to go see the Avengers, or if we were to go to see Creed, which. You mentioned earlier this movie was probably the best movie of the year. I still think Creed was hands down the best movie that came out in 2015. But as the story progresses, I really liked Matt Damon a lot in this movie.
Super funny.
And that's the part that I've seen Matt Damon play funny in a lot of movies, but I really enjoyed him here. And this is one of those movies that kind of reminds me of what was the James Franco movie? The one where he's stuck on a cliff or something, his arm got stuck. It's like 170 something.
127.
See, it could have easily been that type of movie where you're focused on one character, but this movie really does follow along the trajectory of not just his journey and not just the journey of his crew, who during the better part of this movie is heading back to Earth without knowing that Mark is still alive. It also follows NSA and their protocol and how they would respond to something like this. And so the movie really, you get a very, how do I want to put this? You
feel like you're in the movie. You feel like you're part of the NASA crew trying to get this guy home, is what it feels like.
And at the same time, you have this deep sympathy for the Mark character this man's on a whole different planet eating potatoes.
Made with his shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. So, when Mark gets back to the hub, he realizes that there's enough food. I think he said initially there was like 18 days worth of food left, but he could stretch it out for maybe
50 something.
50 something days. And so he's like, you know what? He realizes quickly that the only rescue that he could possibly have is the next crew that flies to Mars in 4 years. So he says, basically, I got to start. I can stretch out food, but I got to make my own. So Mark here is a botanist, which means he specializes in growing products. So he devises a way to grow potatoes. So he gets soil from Mars, and he goes out to some bucket that's outside that has packaged shit. Which, hey, we all know shit's a good fertilizer, so that in itself was great. He initially got his own shit, and then...
But you have to watch him stir in this.
Yeah, and so he's mixing all these different ones. He's got the water in. He's gagging. I mean, this part's obviously made for laughs too, but so he gets the soil, he gets the fertilizer, and he realizes his problem is that he doesn't have water. So him being a botanist and kind of knowing basic chemistry, realizes he has the components to isolate. Look, I don't want to bore people here with the science part. He basically ended up creating water after the first attempt, which he blew himself up. But he develops this room. He's able to grow these potatoes, and this whole time he's doing a video library or video diary, I should say. So he's kind of monitoring his every steps, and that's to me kind of the heart of the movie, which is we never feel like he's just by himself. We always feel like he's talking to not only us, the viewer, but he's talking to someone on the other side of the camera.
True.
So as the crew is his crew is initially heading back to Earth, they're not aware that he's alive for quite a long period of time, and this kind of leads us to the NASA component of this movie. Jeff Daniels plays the director of the NASA crew, and he's very much against telling the crew that Mark is alive for the fact that they still have, I can't remember how long they said it was going to be 10 months before 10 months before they hit back to Earth. And they found out, I think it was maybe about a month and a half.
I think they was 4 months out. I think they was 4 months from Mars when they found out.
Well, but I meant the crew back at NASA.
Oh, yes.
They found out relatively quickly. I think they found out within like a month and a half that Mark was still alive just based off satellite photos. But yeah, that was, they found out relatively quickly and didn't want to tell the crew that Mark was alive just because that's a long way home to have that on their conscience. And kind of what I liked about Mark also is it wasn't why the fuck y'all leave me here? He wasn't upset about that. He was, hey, I realized what they did, and that aspect of the movie where you could have been Mark was upset about being left, that got killed, and I didn't even think about it at all. Mm-mm. So they got rid of that component. We were just able to deal with the human element. So Mark's growing these plants, and he takes his rover, which is a device he can use to kind of travel on the surface of Mars without walking. And I don't exactly remember what made him decide to go to a certain spot, but he ends up traveling there and finds a Pathfinder, which is a device that we left in 1997 that was thought to not be working.
I think he saw it on a map. I think he saw a little red caution sign on a map. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And so he takes off there. He finds it, and I can't remember the guy who was actually in charge of this particular Mars mission, but I thought he did a fantastic job. I should look him up here, but I think his name was Vincent in the movie. He realizes that's what Mark is going after, and they link up a Pathfinder.
Oh, he's the guy he plays the code guy on Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler. That's who that guy is.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Now I got to go back and watch Wedding Singer.
He had the DeLorean.
I have to go back and watch that. I thought he was great. I thought he was great, by the way, in this movie. I really like because he kind of plays both sides. At first he's very much there's nothing we can do to save this guy, and then by the end of the movie becomes one of the biggest components of trying to bring Mark back home. But he figures out where Mark is going. They link that up, and they're able to send kind of pictures back and forth as a way for Mark to finally communicate. And we have somebody ringing the doorbell, which is very odd around here. Stephanie's gonna go check out to see what that's about as I continue talking here. Actually, we're gonna put this on pause for just a moment. And we're back. Sorry for the interruption. We actually got prompted for Girl Scout cookies. Which I can't say no to Girl Scout cookies, honey. I know you're trying to cut back on sweets, but they only come around once in a while. I'm not giving up Girl Scout cookies.
And we ain't got to worry about our daughter selling them because she's not about that life.
Apparently, I asked her why, and she said, "No way, Jose." Speaking of which, we got both of them standing in front of us now. Oh no! Now you want to take off? You could ask something if you wanted to. This is turning out so well. So I was at the part about the Pathfinder. So they eventually find the Pathfinder. They were able to connect that with the rover, and they're able to send emails back and forth between Mark and NASA, which in of itself ends up in a lot of hilarious situations, including what was the line that he, oh God, what was the first thing that they were, oh, so Mark.
Well, I think how it is they, he can talk to them, but there's no way of replying or something like that.
Originally with the Pathfinder.
Yes.
I think how it was is that he writes something to send a picture, and they're able to point the camera of the Pathfinder to yes or no. But eventually they figure out this kind of complicated system of how to set it up so that they can connect it to the rover, and now they can type emails, like kind of short emails to each other. So we get to the point where they're able to kind of send like short messages to each other. And one of the first things Mark asks is, does the crew know he's still alive? Which, you know, everybody's kind of hesitant because not only is the Vincent, the head of the Mars mission, able to see these messages, but for some reason everybody at the headquarters at NASA can see everything too. And when they tell him no, they haven't told him yet, I believe Mark says something to the effect of, was it like, what the fuck? Or something like that?
Yeah, and so then they start making this question of, is it a what the fuck or a what the fuck?
I mean, because you know, anytime you send a text message, you never really know the contents of what somebody is saying. We just had that happen yesterday when we were talking about something, and you took it the wrong way or didn't really understand that I was kind of being more like, kind of just joking around. But yeah, so that's what we get here. And as the movie kind of progresses, obviously there's got to be something disastrous that happens. So, you know, Mark's growing these potatoes. He's got plenty to eat. They're sending I guess you can call it like a reload payload for food. And they can get that up within a year so that he would have enough food to last until.
Like 500 and something souls, I think.
Yeah, you had a real problem with the soul thing, didn't you? Like they instead of saying like day 1 or day 27, it was souls. And so I'm, you know, every time it pops up, Soul 18, Soul 52, you would just look over me just like, okay, so how many days is this? So how many days is this? I was like, well, let's just imagine a soul is a day, which actually when I go online and read it, I think a soul is like a day and a quarter or something like that because, you know, Mars is further away from Earth. Am I saying Earth again?
It's all right.
Anywho, so they're setting up this reload package that's going to be sent up within a year. To help Mark get to the point where he'll have enough food for the Ares 4 when that lands to be able to pick him up and bring him home. So at this point, we get a little bit more of Jeff Daniels' character, who at the beginning, I think even when they first realized that Mark was alive, he was just like, well, there ain't shit we can do about it. He's just kind of out of luck.
Oh, they start trying to build this thing to get him food.
No, but even before that, though, like when we first get the images that show that the rover moves and his character.
Yeah, basically the guy was just like, let him die.
Yeah, not so much to let him die,
let
but
him die.
I think it was a little bit more of a look. It's gonna take 4 years. Throw your hands up. But so they're really scrambling to get this reload package to him. Like I said, it takes about a year, and they figured he'd have just enough food if he rationed that will get there. Mm-hmm. They even try to get this done so quickly that they foregone inspections and other things that typically go into a launch. So when disaster hits, first of all, there was like this big windstorm, and it destroys all of Mark's crops.
Oh no, the pod thing blew off.
Right, and it destroyed all his crops.
And it makes you want to cry because here's this man who just grew potatoes with his shit, loses all these crops, and it makes you want to cry.
and then on top of that, now this reload package gets launched into orbit. Everyone's celebrating for about maybe 2 minutes before this thing starts turning sideways and blows up.
So now he has to eat one potato every 3 days.
Yeah. So I mean, Mark's really controlling.
And he has no ketchup.
I didn't. That scene with the ketchup. You already know how I feel about ketchup. I think ketchup's disgusting. But so he's eating potatoes, ketchup, and then every now and then he'll add something to it. But he's really rationed out some of that other food. So all this goes wrong, and so now comes the time where my man Troy from for those who watch Community of Troy and Abed, Donald Glover's in the movie, and his character is basically a tweaker. He looks very much like a tweaker. He's spending time kind of devising him something, but we're not sure what it is until he finally sits down with Jeff Daniels and Jeff Daniels' character and Vincent and says, hey, the quickest way to resolve all this is to send the Hermes, the ship that left, is to send it back. And it's like this thing where, I mean, it's done with paper clips and the two characters where basically the Hermes would fly back towards Earth, but speed up, get slingshot, and they would get a, I guess like a refill or however you want to call that.
You have the satellite to come up and refill them with their food.
Right, gives them like, more fuel for the jet or for the ship itself, food and everything like that. And apparently the crew that's on the Hermes was going to have 533 days added to their... So it's this whole thing, and then they kind of really gloss over this part. And I remember when we were watching it, I said, wait a minute. So now at this point, they're going to fly back towards Mars, but they can't land. So somehow Mark has to meet them in space.
Yes.
I remember saying that to you, and we were just like, well, we don't know how the hell this is going to go. They never really explained that part. So, I mean, there's more to it. Mark has to go a certain distance within, I think, 90 days or something like that. His crew, I mean, everybody in the crew, Jessica Chastain plays the commander, Kate Mara, who was in Fantastic Four, which I haven't seen yet. I keep telling you I want to see it. You tell me it's a bad idea. She plays a character in the movie also. They all decide, yeah, we're going back, we're going to get him. So we'll skip forward a bit. We'll get to the crescendo of this movie, which has one of the funniest moments I think I've ever seen in any movie. The crew, this part's hard to explain. The crew is almost at Mars, but initially they thought they weren't going to be close enough to Mark.
Oh, wait, we got to forget about where he has to take everything off that thing that's going to shoot him in the air.
Okay, wait. So, yeah.
So he's basically flying into space with nothing.
Right. We got to explain that. So Mark ends up driving to where Ares 4, we got to get to that too. Ares 4 was the mission that initially they said he would have to wait on. So he ends up driving to the position where the Ares 4 hub is. It's like this little kind of mini ship that you can use to launch into orbit. That's what he's going to use to meet up with his crew. So as they're finally getting over there, it just seems like every 10 minutes, it's like, oh, wait, this can happen. Oh, wait, this can happen. So we get to this part, and he's on his way over there, and I believe it was one of the scientists says the ship he's on is gonna weigh way too much. And he needs to go really fast to meet this ship. So they start taking different shit out of there.
Chairs, windows.
Right.
He takes the top up, uses a tarp.
Well, I want to get to that part. So they're taking everything out, and Vincent, who plays the commander of the Mars operation, goes, he can't fly without that. And the one guy goes, he hasn't even got to the worst part yet.
And you got to imagine he's already lost weight from rationing out. So he's really, really bony looking. I mean, he really looks sickly looking. He's so small. So imagine you're getting in this shuttle trying to take everything apart, plus flying into space.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is at the end, the professor says, we need to take the top off. And I remember when he said you need to take the top off, I was like, wait. So he's going into space just with it open. And they demonstrate with a tarp. And, I mean, throughout the movie, Mark uses duct tape for just about everything. He uses it to seal up the mask of his suit so oxygen to stay in. He uses it to tarp up the hub so, he's not being sucked out into space. Duct tape is an awesome thing, but I thought on a tarp flying up into space was a bad idea. And and actually going back to what you said earlier, that's where you get the email where Mark sends the email like, what the fuck? And they're trying to figure out which way does he mean what the fuck? So yeah, we get to the part of the movie. He's gonna be launched from the Mars surface with his ship that has no top to it, all the windows busted out. It's basically just him in a suit strapped in, and he's about to go. I think he used the term faster than any human has gone. So this launch happens. He gets launched up into space, and all the fuels and the boosters fall off, and it's just kind of the top part with him in it. And Mark passes out because he's going fast as hell.
Broke some ribs.
Yeah, and he's just looking up and in his space. He's just looking up at space at this point, floating around. And I believe they said initially that the trajectory of their ship was too far away from him. So then they were going to do something, and I can't remember what that was. They did something where they got closer to Mark, but now they were going too fast. So then at that point, Jessica Chastain's character, which I thought this was, I'm not going to say this was racist, but it's a little fucked up. She asked the German astronaut on there to build a bomb to blow off a door that would slow him down. Why does the German have to be asked to build a bomb? I don't know. That didn't seem messed up to you at all?
No.
Okay, whatever. It just seems a little messed up. You're going to ask the German to build a bomb. Anyway, they build a bomb, they blow it off, so now they're slow enough to meet up with Mark, but now they're even further away than they were before. And so they're doing all this maneuvering, and eventually Mark wakes up, and he has this suggestion of how he can get closer to the crew to then come grab him. Can you please enlighten the viewers of what this idea was?
He is fixing to become Iron Man. He is going to poke a hole in the hand of his suit and put his hands down like Iron Man and shoot up out this bubble he's in.
Now, when he said this, I thought it was kind of more like a joke and that it wouldn't be so much that. I thought when he said poke a hole, I thought he meant he was going to control something on the actual component of his ship. But eventually, Jessica Chastain's character, the commander, goes out, and it's kind of like in this baby seat with a rope attached. So she flies out there. Mark's nowhere near her. So Mark pokes this damn hole. And I kid you not, it was.
It's like letting a balloon out inside of a closed area.
So here he comes, flying out of this ship, completely out of control, kind of like I.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So finally he does get up out this bubble and goes up in the air, and he's still Iron Man in it until he gets to the captain, who's in this high chair in space.
It's a baby seat. Let's call it what it is. It's a baby seat. And yeah, it's this beautiful, touching moment where he misses her at first, and then they get all caught up in the rope, and finally they bring him in. So they bring him in. They bring him into the ship. Everybody's happy to see him. And I'm gonna say something honestly here. When this part happened, when they finally bring him onto the ship, and we see NASA celebrating, and there's people lined up in Times Square, which you said would not happen, and I completely disagree with that. I think if there was an American stuck on a planet right now, we wouldn't save them. How it was depicted in the movie would be exactly how it happened. But when we get their reaction and everything like that, I try my best to look away from you because I could feel my feels coming up. Just Matt Damon did such a fantastic job with this guy that when he finally gets in human contact with someone else, I got teary eyed a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
It was emotional.
It was so. I don't know if I can say enough good things about this movie. It was a movie I wanted to see, but now that I actually saw it, I thought it was great.
Stephanie 1, Nate 0.
What do you mean Nate 0?
On The Martian, Stephanie 1, Nate 0.
Well, I didn't say I didn't want to see it. I was very surprised of how good it was.
Okay.
So eventually, just to kind of wrap up the movie, everybody kind of goes along their separate ways. Mark becomes a kind of a teacher, I guess, or a mentor for some hopeful astronauts. Some of the other characters go about their thing. The end of the movie is basically now the Ares 5. Did you kind of notice this? Like they were the Ares 3, and then the Ares 4 ship is the one that completely got wiped out because Mark needed to get home. So they skipped Ares 4. Fuck it, that didn't happen. And now we have Ares 5 launching into space, and that's kind of how we end the movie. I thought, aside from me trying to give him many glowing things as I can say about this movie, I kind of think this is a movie that can kind of get Matt Damon to, I think, a different point of his career. He's not Jason Bourne anymore. We made that joke quite a few times watching this about, oh my God, you can't leave Jason Bourne. I think we're now at this point. I think he did the. Did you watch the Zoo movie? You really watched the Zoo movie they did? Like, We Got a Zoo?
No, I think Malik watched it.
But he's kind of more in that role now. He's not going to be your big time action hero. He's kind of matured now into taking kind of heartwarming stories roles, and I think he does a good job with those.
I do too. It was an excellent movie. Phenomenal.
You're just gonna keep gloating about this, aren't you?
I am, because I loved it. I picked it out. We
Yes.
have a contest of who picks out the best movies. I'm winning.
In what way though? In what didn't I pick Creed though?
Yeah, but I like Rocky movies. So.
Yeah, but I told you specifically this movie was
It's
gonna be
still
good.
technically kind of like a Rocky movie, so you can't really pick something that's already got a franchise.
Yeah, okay, but this is a difference in the franchise.
That'd be like me saying I picked Star Wars, knowing Star Wars was out forever.
But you know I'm not gonna watch Star Wars though.
You're lost. You're lost. It's a good movie.
Okay. So if I can't take credit for Creed, let me think here. What was something I picked? And I'm not gonna bore the listeners with all this. Look, what she's telling you is not exactly true. I pick out just as many good movies and TV shows as you do, if not better. Okay. Although I will always give you credit for having me watch Prison Break. I will always give you credit for that. If you have not watched Prison Break, your life sucks. Get on Netflix right now and go watch Prison Break. And when you do, thank Stephanie here, my wife, because she's the one that picked that out for me to watch. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Honey, was it as bad as you thought it would be?
Martian?
No, doing the show.
Nah, I don't guess so.
Okay then, see, it's just me and you talking here. I want to thank my beautiful wife so much for hopping on this with me. You can listen to the show in any multiple ways: iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. All the links will be in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, peace and chicken grease.